I think it's universally agreed upon that one of the things that makes Five Nights at Freddy's so intriguing is the lore. And my god, there's a lot of lore. If there wasn't any backstory or lore to the games, then it wouldn't really be all that interesting, considering the gameplay is the same loop over and over again, not counting the new games. But once you beat a night, you realize that that's basically the entire game. The only difference is that it gets a little harder over time. So the lore is without a doubt one of the main reasons people come back to the series, considering without it we wouldn't have the thousands of videos and theories talking about the game and what's going on within the backstory. But there's one other part of Five Nights at Freddy's that I've always found to be so unique and intriguing. Of course, I'm talking about the Five Nights at Freddy's Easter eggs. There's something about these that have always left a good taste in my mouth. It's always fun seeing YouTuber reactions, and even if you come across it yourself, it's always cool because they're usually pretty rare to come across. Now, of course, there's some Easter eggs that you can do every single time, like the 1987 Easter egg on the original Five Nights at Freddy's. But I just want to go over what makes the Five Nights at Freddy's Easter egg so special to me, considering they've been around since the very first game. And to start, I think we have to talk about what I just talked about, the lore factor. Some of these Easter eggs are cool because of the fact that they add extra lore to the game that you wouldn't have normally known about just by playing without them. I mean, for goodness sake, one of the main FNAF characters was originally just an Easter egg, that of course being Golden Freddy. It's pretty interesting looking back because now Golden Freddy is basically in every single game you can imagine. But back in the early days of 2014, the only game he was in was the original, and it was just through a simple little Easter egg, an extremely rare one at that. And back then it made you wonder what he was or how he added to the story. People wondered if he was a hallucination or not. Now we know he's not a hallucination, but it's interesting to see the theories back then about this character. And it was all quite literally from a super rare Easter egg that you could unlock by seemingly random chance. And that's not the only one in the original FNAF. Of course, you have the other little Easter eggs like the crying child posters and the little notes saying the incidents that happened in the game. These pieces of paper on the wall helped create the story and build it up from there. Considering it talks about multiple incidents with missing children, these papers would certainly help connect the story in later releases. Within Five Nights at Freddy's 2, one of the greatest Easter eggs ever made was the Shadow Bonnie Easter egg. Man, back then this was the coolest thing to see. And as far as I'm aware, this is one of the rarest Easter eggs within the entire franchise. But this was again one of those characters that nobody knew if he was just a simple Easter egg or if there was something more to it. Nowadays, Shadow Bonnie has appeared in multiple games, but back then nobody knew if he was going to be added to more games or if it was just a fun little nod. And that's why I find the Easter eggs so interesting, because some of them actually help add to the lore, while others are just cute little fun things like the Freddy Nose Easter egg. It's cool stuff. I feel like the older games had that certain charm with the Easter eggs, considering they would come out of seemingly nowhere, considering a lot of people like to look up YouTuber reactions to finding the rare Easter eggs in the games. One of those Easter eggs, for example, being the Paper Pals. These little guys would appear in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, and you had a chance of getting the middle Paper Pal to appear in the office on night 7. I was kind of surprised these Paper Pal guys returned in other games because I always thought they were just some fun little Easter eggs and nothing more to it, but it's always cool to see them return. Speaking of other games, Five Nights at Freddy's 3 probably has the most unique Easter eggs of them all, because when you really think about it, doing all of the mini games is basically one giant Easter egg. Since you quite literally have to do multiple different steps and click on multiple different posters and click on different numbers on the office, it's pretty clear that these are meant to be hidden from the player, which in and of itself kind of makes it an Easter egg. It's not in the sense of just finding it automatically, but it's one of those things where you have to find multiple steps in order to complete it. And of course, once you do all of these mini games, you get rewarded the good ending in the game. And I think that's what makes FNAF 3 so unique, is the fact that Easter eggs actually helped with getting the good ending in the game. While the Golden Freddy and Shadow Bonnie Easter eggs were interesting, they didn't actually do anything in the game outside of just looking cool. Of course, they added some extra lore to the game, but that was really it. But with FNAF 3, you actually had to play little mini games and try and figure out how to get through the entire game. You have to give the cupcakes in specific orders, and you have to find the mangle parts, and then you have to find Balloon Boy in another secret area. It's all really cool stuff that didn't need to be added at all, but it actually does add some unique flavor to FNAF 3, despite what most people will say about it. While I find FNAF 3's gameplay to be less interesting than others, I still feel the Easter eggs add a lot of flavor to the game that aren't on the others. While FNAF 4 does have those retro-style mini-games, it simply isn't the same because you already get to them and you don't have to do anything extra. I mean, sure, there's other cool secrets in there like Fredbear's Family Diner on the TV, but I still feel like FNAF 3 did this better considering you have to find your way to the minigames. I just think it adds some unique flavor to the game. But like I said, not all Easter eggs have to be super intriguing like this. Going back to FNAF 2, one of the main Easter eggs that was also extremely interesting was the JJ Easter egg. Really not much to this one just from looking at it. It's simply just a Balloon Boy looking character at the bottom of the desk. Not much more to it, and you'd probably miss it if you weren't looking closely. But as I said before, it added a lot of unique theories and made people wonder if this is a second Balloon Boy character, or maybe it was just an Easter egg that Scott put in for fun. And that's what I liked about the Easter eggs. Some of them were fun, some added to the lore, and it made theorists think about it. And genuinely seeing the Easter eggs is a very exciting thing, because you know how rare they are, so seeing them makes it that much cooler. Heck, sometimes it even makes you want to upload a YouTube video of you finding said Easter egg. It does remind me though that some Easter eggs back then were actually found to be fake, although they looked really cool. I always thought this Balloon Boy Easter egg would have been really cool if it were real. Unfortunately it's fake, but seeing the way it looks, I don't blame people for thinking it's real. Nowadays people can just go into the code of the game and find out if it's real or not. But back then people really didn't know, and they had to theorize whether it was real or not. And what I think is one of the coolest Easter eggs in the entire franchise has to be in Five Nights at Freddy's 4. Every now and again you're gonna hear some muffled sounds in the background, which actually turns out to be the Night 1 phone call from the original Five Nights at Freddy's. I don't know what it is, but there's just something about this that is so cool to me. The fact that Scott Cawthon would add a nod to the original Five Nights at Freddy's in a game that has nothing to do with security cameras or anything from that game for that matter is extremely cool to me. I mean, quite literally, FNAF 1 and FNAF 4 are two totally different games. Sure, the idea is the same of having to survive 5 nights and, you know, going through the 6 a.m.s and all that. But in terms of gameplay, it's totally different with having to listen in, and that's why it's my least favorite Five Nights at Freddy's. I don't like getting my ear blasted, but still, I think this is one of the coolest Easter eggs just because of the simple fact that he did not have to add that in. But it's so cool to hear that sound and then you later realize that it's actually a phone call. FNAF 4 also had some unique Easter eggs, like every now and again when you check the bed you'll see that there's a new object on the side of the bed every now and again. But let's take it back a notch and just look at some of the more simple Easter eggs. Of course there's the ones in FNAF 3, some of the posters will change to see a Golden Bonnie type character. I wonder who that could be. And I don't think this really counts as an Easter egg, but it's just interesting to see the toy characters in FNAF 3 sitting right in front of your office. It definitely reminds me of back then when everyone thought the toy characters were coming back from that teaser, but as it turns out, they're just broken, destroyed pieces of crap that sit in front of your office and do absolutely nothing. Back to minigames, however, with Sister Location. Sister Location had a few Easter eggs. I know one of them is the Easter egg where the baby shows up in the elevator. But once again, talking about the minigames, here you have to give the cupcakes in a specific order, and when you give the final ice cream, the girl literally dies. Quite a freaky thing to see the first time, to be totally honest. Just like FNAF 3, it's very interesting to see that you have to do specific steps in order to complete the entire minigame. Of course, these aren't Call of Duty Easter eggs where you have to do 50 million things in order to complete a main giant quest, but keeping it simple makes it not too confusing and it'll help people figure it out a little easier. Although I haven't played any of Ultimate Custom Night, I am aware that there's some kind of Fredbear Easter egg or Golden Freddy jump scare Easter egg, which I do find to be pretty cool. I think it's interesting that he actually added Easter eggs to a game like Ultimate Custom Night as well, considering literally every animatronic is in that game. Once again, we go back to FNAF 3, with one of the other cool Easter eggs being this little Freddy Easter egg. I think it's meant to be Purple Freddy or Golden Freddy. Either way, once again, it's nothing much, but it really is unique to see, because this kind of Freddy character doesn't normally appear in the game. But that's basically my small little talk about Five Nights at Freddy's Easter eggs. They're cool for what they are, considering some of them could be simple while others are ginormous minigames that actually help with good endings. And you gotta remember, most of these games were developed by one guy, so considering he had all of these different ideas in his head, it was really cool to see them turn out so well in these games. I mean, to this day, Golden Freddy is still one of the coolest Easter eggs in the game, and that was all the way back in 2014. Nowadays, we have giant open world FNAF games that I've never touched and I probably never will. But overall, the greatest Easter eggs are of course the ones that crash your game. So therefore, Golden Freddy and Shadow Bonnie are the best Easter eggs. Considering Golden Freddy literally has his own unique jump scare, it makes it that much more interesting. But overall, are Five Nights at Freddy's Easter eggs cool, or do you think they're just extremely boring and dumb and they take away from the main gameplay? But anyways, that's about it. Goodbye. Oh, hold on, I got a Discord notification. Go outside to find an old friend? Alright, where are you? No, it can't be. I thought I got rid of you. Why can't you just get out of my life? Ugh. Address the elephant in the room? 11 months? What the heck happened 11 months ago? Oh. Hello there. I just wanted to add this part at the end of the video to explain where I've been in terms of Five Nights at Freddy's content. To simply put, the main reason I stopped making them was because I had a lack of interest. I haven't been all that interested in Five Nights at Freddy's in a pretty long time, so it was difficult for me to make videos about something I wasn't passionate about. Since the last video, I graduated high school, and then I got myself a part-time job. And the best thing that's happened since the last FNAF video is I got this little guy. Yeah, if you didn't watch the unboxing, I got a plushie of my character, and he's really cool, and I love him very much. But yeah, I hope you guys understand why I stopped making the FNAF videos, because it just wasn't all that interesting. I felt like when I was making the challenge videos in 2024, you guys didn't seem too interested after a little while, which I could kind of sense in the comment section, and the videos kind of felt lazy, which is why I stopped making them as well. After editing this whole video, I thought it was actually pretty good and not as lazy as just sitting in grass and playing FNAF. So for those of you who ask, are there still going to be Five Nights at Freddy's videos in the future? Well, perhaps. To be honest, it really just depends on how well you guys receive these kind of FNAF videos, because I'm not sure if I want to ever go back to tablet videos or not. I might go back to tablet videos just because the last SpongeBob Doodle Jump video got a pretty decent amount of views. So you guys seem to like the tablet type videos, so I'll probably go back to those eventually. But in terms of specifically Five Nights at Freddy's, well, I'm not too sure, but I'm sure I'll make more of those videos because I actually quite enjoyed making this one despite me not really paying attention to Five Nights at Freddy's in a very long time. But before I go, I just want to give a massive thank you to all of you who stuck with me despite not making Five Nights at Freddy's videos in quite a long time. As always, I appreciate the dedication you guys have to my channel despite me not making the kind of content you would probably want to see. So I really hope y'all enjoyed this video, considering it took me a little bit to make and I actually had a lot of fun making it. But anyway, shout out to my channel members, MD Heal This, Charlie King, and Random Letters. And I also want to give a big thank you to Paperman57 for making this awesome fan art for getting 25,000 subscribers, which I do heavily appreciate that goal. But anyways, that's about it. Goodbye.